Okay, hello there, y'all. Sorry I couldn't be there today. Charlotte's daycare is closed, so I gotta stay home, take care of her. So what we're gonna cover is proving angles congruent. So first period, what I need you to do is actually take the two pink papers and cut them in half. You only need one half. The other half we have to save for my other classes. So each of the two notes pages, they're half sheets. So if y'all would please just take the scissors, cut those in half, and then save the other ones for me so that my 5th period and 7th period can use them, that would be great. So first off, we're going to start off with this one that says angle theorems. Okay, angle theorems. So it says vertical angles theorem. Vertical angles are congruent. Okay, we'll draw a picture. So remember, draw your two intersecting lines. And the angles that are across from each other are congruent. So this one is congruent to this one over here. And then we have our other ones, which are congruent to each other. And remember, however many arcs tells you the angles that match up together. The next one, it's got the congruent supplements theorem. If two angles are supplements of the same angle, then the two angles are congruent. So what this means, supplementary adds up to 180 degrees, okay? So basically what they're saying is you've got this angle here, 110 degrees, okay? If I'm going to get an angle that is supplementary to this, I know it's got to be equal to 70 degrees, okay? And then let's say we'll call this angle A, and we'll call this one angle B. So if angle A plus angle B equal to 180 degrees, and then I have another angle over here, angle C, and I know that angle A plus angle C equal to 180 degrees, well then what do I have to know? Angle B and angle C have to be equal because angle A is 110. So 110 plus 70 is the only thing that gets me 180. So since I know that both B and C are supplementary to A, like on their own, then I know that B and C have to be equal. So that's what the congruent supplements theorem is saying. Okay, and now congruent complements. It's the same thing except instead of supplementary, we're doing complementary, which means the two angles are adding up to 90. So again, let's say that I have an angle here. Let's say it's 30 degrees. Okay, well, we know 60 degrees is complementary to that. So again, this is angle A, and this is angle B. So if angle A plus angle B equals to 90, because it's complementary, and I know that another angle, angle A plus angle C, also equal to 90, well, I know that angle B and angle C are equal to each other, so in this case, angle C would also be 60. Okay, right angles theorem. All right angles are congruent. Okay, so if you got a right angle here, and you got another right angle, you know that they are both congruent. So angle A is congruent to angle B. 90 is equal to 90. And then the next one that we have, the congruent and supplement theorem. If two angles are congruent and supplementary, then each angle is a right angle. Okay, so congruent and supplementary. I know that angle A plus angle B have to equal to 180. And I know that A is congruent to angle B. So you can use that substitution there. I could write angle A plus angle A equals 180. So therefore 2A is equal to 180. So therefore A has to be 90. Okay, and again, if you have a linear pair, because this is how this is applied. If you have a linear pair, if this one is 90, well, what's 180 minus 90? It's also 90. So that one has to be 90. So that would be your picture. Okay, so that's it for the actual theorems part. And now we're going to go to do the examples. And these examples, they're going to be using the properties that we learned yesterday. And then what we already know about vertical angles and stuff. So the first thing here, it says use a two-column proof to prove the following. Given angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles. Prove angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Now we can't just go and jump right away and say, oh, vertical angles, well, vertical angles are congruent. They're actually asking us to prove that, so we have to go through and find a way to show that these two angles are going to be congruent. So we're going to make a two-column proof here. So I draw a line. It's like a T-chart, just like we had yesterday. And this is your statement. And then this is the reason. So this is on our other pink half sheet. Okay, so our statement. You can start off with angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles. Okay, because that's given. Okay, then we can go and we can say angle 1 and angle 2 and angle 2 and angle 3 are supplementary. Okay, we can say this is our second statement. So angle 1 and angle 2 and angle 2 and angle 3 are supplementary. And what is the reason? Linear pairs are supplementary. Okay, and then the next one will say, okay, the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals to 180. And the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 equals to 180. And the reason for that is that the measure of supplementary angles is 180 degrees. Okay. And then now we're going to get into what we did yesterday. You see here, measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 is equal to 180. And the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 is equal to 180. Well, from that we can conclude that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 is equal to the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3. And we can do that by the transitive property. Okay, you can do that by the transitive property. And then now, we see we have angle 1 and angle 3 here in one equation. We want to get rid of this angle 2. So what are we going to do? we're going to subtract that measure of angle 2 from both sides. So to get rid of it, we have to subtract it off of both sides there. So we can say the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 3 by the subtraction property. Okay, and now we see that the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 3. Therefore, we can conclude that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3 because measures of congruent angles are equal. And there you go. So you start off here. Angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles because that's what's given. Angle 1 and angle 2 and angle 2 and angle 3 are supplementary because linear pairs are supplementary, and angle 1 and angle 2 and angle 2 and angle 3, those are linear pairs there. Then you say the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 is equal to 180. And same thing with angle 2 and angle 3. And that's because the measure of supplementary angles is 180 degrees. Then you set the two angle additions equal to each other because of the transitive property, because they were both equal to 180. And then you say, okay, angle 1 is equal to the angle 3 because we subtracted off angle 2 from both sides there. And therefore, since the measures of the two angles are equal, they are congruent, because that's what congruent means. So that's how you give a two-column proof on angles. So you just have to go step by step. You can't just make a bunch of leaps from one thing to the other. You have to go and show every single step in between. So you see how we had to say, okay, angle 1 and angle 2, they're supplementary because they are a linear pair. And since they are a linear pair, then that means, or since they're supplementary, that means they add up to 180. Since they both add up to 180, we can, say they're both equal to each other. So you have to spell it out, okay? Some people in this proof even go in and say that angle 1 and angle 2 and angle 2 and angle 3 are linear pairs. They actually add in another step here. But we're not going to do that just for simplicity's sake. So now let's go here, example 2 and example 3. It says, what is the value of x? Okay, we can see that these here are vertical angles. So this, we're just really applying the theorem. So since I know they're vertical angles, I know they're congruent, I can set them equal to each other. So 2x plus 21 is equal to 4x. And then now I'm going to solve this for x. Okay, so the first thing we got to do is subtract 2x from each side. So I get 21 is equal to 2x, and then divide by 2, okay? And so you get x is 10.5. So there we go, easy. Okay, next one here. What is the value of x and of y? So there's two relationships I got to use here. I see that the ones with the x's on them are vertical angles, so they're congruent. So I'm going to start with that first. So 3x plus 10 is equal to 4x minus 40. Okay, I'm going to take away 3x from both sides, and I'm also going to add 40 at the same time. So 50 is equal to x, because 4 minus 3 is just 1. So x is 50. So there we go. And then now I can see that one of these angles and y, they're a linear pair. So they have to add up to 180. So I will write 3x plus 10 plus y equals 180. That's my second equation. And then now I just plug in for x and solve for y. So 3 times 50 plus 10 plus y equals 180. So we'll just simplify here. 3 times 50, that's 150, and then plus 10, so that's 160, plus y equals 280. Take off 160 from both sides. So y is 20. And there you go. Okay, next thing. The last thing that we're going to do is doing a paragraph proof. It's like our 2-column proof, except we're just writing it in sentences. Okay, so the first thing here, we're given that angle 1 is congruent to angle 4. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 4 is given. Then we can go on to say angle 4 is congruent to angle 2. And what would the reason for that be? Because vertical angles are congruent. Because we can see 2 and 4 are vertical angles. Because vertical angles are congruent. Now that we know that 1, 4, and 2 are all congruent, we can use the transitive property here. So we're just kind of like, we're going to move around here. We're going to get to angle 3 there. Okay, because that's what we're trying to prove, is that 2 is congruent to angle 3. So since angle 1 is congruent to angle 4, and angle 4 is congruent to angle 2, we can conclude that angle 1 is congruent to angle 2 by the transitive property. Okay, so we've got the connection between 1 and 2 here. Now we need to make a connection between 1 and 3, because if we can connect 1 and 3, we can show that since angle 1 is congruent to angle 3, angle 3 is congruent to angle 2 by that transitive property. Okay, so what's the relationship going on between angle 1 and angle 3? Well, they're vertical angles. So we say that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3 because they are vertical angles. And so now we know angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. And so that means that angle 2 is congruent to angle 3. So we can say that angle 2 is congruent to angle 3 by the transitive property. And there we go. So that would be your paragraph proof. So on the proofs, it's really just kind of thinking, okay, what facts do I know? How can I link them together to get to where I need to be? On the assignment, the proof that we've got is not very difficult, okay? And I'll go through it and look at it with you. So go on ahead, go to the assignment, and if you need to, guys, you can always pause the video and go back and rewatch a section of it, okay? Y'all can do that. You can use the mouse, because I'm sure not everybody's written everything down, okay? Go back, pause the video, listen to it again, make sure you understand what we're doing. So let's go to the assignment now. Okay, the top ones you ought to be able to do. That's just using the different theorems that we know. Oh, what's going on with my screen here? But on this one, okay, you got 8 steps. Some of the things you're going to use are going to be supplementary. So I'm just giving you some of the reasons. I'm not spelling them out directly for you, but you're going to have to use facts about supplementary angles, the substitution property, okay, and And then, yeah. So you got supplementary, substitution, and I think that's pretty much it so far there. Yeah, subtraction property. Okay, so just like if you're adding something to both sides or subtracting something to both sides, then you use the addition or subtraction properties. If you're replacing a number or replacing something with a number, then that's substitution. Okay, so and then also transitive. Yeah, you'll have transitive in here. So yeah. So that's how you're going to use, those are some of the reasons that you're going to use for this proof there. And then this one is pretty easy, the number 5 to fill in. You're just filling in the blanks. They've already given you the framework for the reasoning, so you're just saying, okay, what should I put in these blanks here? And as you can see, there's a lot of vertical angles. Vertical angles. So use that other half sheet that we made with all the theorems on it. This one right here, and that should help you. Okay, and again, if you are a little bit confused or a little bit lost, this video is going to be on Canvas, so you can watch it all again. And again, please pause, rewind, go back, listen to it, because I'm sure, again, not everybody has been able to write every single thing down. So make sure that you get the notes down, try your best on the assignment, and then we'll go over it on Monday. Y'all have a great day. Bye.